show Piddle and Bill out there working. Today he is planting wisteria. Yes, it's a highly invasive species that can kill your trees, but they're hardy. And so he's got a plan to plant them where we have trees that have been killed by the cold weather ice storms and whatnot, or the ocean water. So that's his plan. So I with you, mommy? Huh? You gonna walk with mama? Did that Sage reach? Sager! All right, y'all gonna walk out with me? Let's go. So I thought that I would take a little walk. It's a little cold. It's a bit dreary. I prefer to walk and sit out here when the sun's shining clearly, but it's not too bad. I just like the ocean. So I've been thinking a lot about Madeline Soto. And I was watching T-Rev last night and watching Brittany J. And everybody's got so many opinions about Jen Soto, the mother of Madeline. I watched the behavior panel and Dr. G. I gotta tell you, I fell more on the side of the behavior panel, their assessment. I'm sensitive. He droves. He's sweet drover. You were such a good boy, aren't you? You stay with your mama? Is it your job to protect me? Are you a good buddy? Huh? Sit. Huh? You're so sweet, aren't you? You're such a good boy. Say hello to everybody. Say hey, guys. All right. So, I know you're here. Just sit down, lay down. Find a place to lay down. We'll be fine. All right? Okay. So, I'm sensitive to the fact that how do I want to say this? I'm careful. I want to be respectful. I think sometimes men sometimes they want to show deference, I think, to some of the female types of issues, right? And I think by nature of being a good husband and a good dad and all of those types of roles that people play, I think it's very hard sometimes for men, learned, experienced, well-educated men. I think sometimes it's a little bit difficult for them to call into question the female emotional experience and our roles as moms and caretakers. Okay, so I respect that. I understand that. And I also understand the precarious nature of being a licensed professional and being on YouTube and trying to be authentic, but being aware of, the potential for litigious type of people to be reactive. So I get that part too. So specific to Jen Soto. I do understand it's uncomfortable to kind of give an unveiled opinion of what you're seeing. So I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to put up the Jen Soto interviews. I It's not something I traditionally do on this channel, but I I think there I think there are some very real signs that for whatever motivation, and I'm not saying what the motivation is, but whatever it was, for some reason, Jen Soto decided not to tell the truth. Perhaps, perhaps her life has been threatened. Perhaps Stefan, her supposed boyfriend, maybe, maybe he is causing her harm, and pretty much said the message: if you speak out, then you too will die. Problem is, he's in jail, so he can't get to her. So if he's no longer available to cause harm, then what's she afraid of? Well, then that leads you to the thought, the possibility, maybe it's a group. Maybe it's not just Stefan. Maybe Stefan is involved with a group of very bad characters, very bad actors, very, very terrible people, and she's not necessarily frightened of her boyfriend specifically. Maybe her fear comes from his group of associates. Now, which associates might I be talking about? Well, it does seem that this area of Florida where the Jen Soto and her daughters lived, it does seem to be a hotbed for the production of child abuse materials. And in fact, there is some very real evidence that perhaps Stefan was arrested and he's been singing like a bird. That the minute he went into jail and they started saying, "We are charging you with the murder of this child," maybe he began saying, "No, no, 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 no. You got it all wrong. It wasn't me. I didn't do it, but I know who did do it. I know who you should be looking at." Interesting thought, right? Now, it's true that they have it's safe for them to have a relaxed approach to charging him with murder, because he is currently jailed for a couple of very good charges to keep him there for a little while. They don't have the pressure of the speedy trial time clock. And the very minute that they arrest him for her murder, then that, nuisance, well, it starts its countdown. So the cops, law enforcement, I believe, are motivated to continue their investigation of her murder without that time clock being activated, right? So the longer they can haul off on the keep off on the official charges of murder while they are actually investigating and collecting real evidence, then the better off law enforcement is. And so, hopefully they have the majority of their investigation and evidence collection completed before they ever file the charges. So that if he jumps up and says, "Yep, yep, yep, I want my speedy trial, let's get it done," then they won't be caught, with their pants down, and they'll be ready to immediately go into prosecution mode. So I do believe that's one factor. But what if there's more? What if Stephen, shoot, I forgot his last name. What if he jumped up and said, "Wait a minute, I didn't do it, but I know who did do it. In fact, I know of a ring of pedophiles right here in Central Florida who are abusing children and making SA product to be sold and collected and bartered on the internet, I can lead you to those people. But I didn't hurt her. What if that kind of deal has unfolded? Is that why Jen Soto is terrified? Dr. G, I'm sorry. I got to tell you, she doesn't look like a woman in grief. I agree. She seems a little awkward, little, little emotionally detached. But I think there's some real reasons, some real moments during the interview to point your finger and go, that right there, that what we're looking at right there, that is a lie. That is a woman who is afraid of something. Now, I agree, we don't know what she's afraid of. We don't know if she's afraid for her own freedom, that she somehow was in collusion with Stefan, and together their actions resulted in the death of Maddie. Maybe that's the fear, but there could be another fear. There could be a fear of a wider network of psychopaths and sociopaths that are developing child SA materials and distributing them from homes in Central Florida. Mob-like activity, gang-like activity. So I think it's pretty safe to say during her interview, she was afraid, actually terrified. But on the other hand, I'm not quite ready to say, no. I think she knows exactly what happened to Madeline. But if somebody forced me into if they forced me into making a choice of only one of two potential answers, then I would definitely be on the side of, yeah, she knew something. But if I'm not locked into that forced choice scenario, I don't know. Maybe there are some potential explanations for her fear that would not include she was either part of the molestation or that she somehow knew of the abuse but failed to act. Or, as some people have said, I've seen some people say outright, they believe that Jen herself murdered Maddie out of jealousy. I'm not there. That's hard. That's a very, that would be a very peculiar set of circumstances, although it does happen. I'm stuck between she was a part of it. That does happen. It's been fetishized. She was either a part of it or she knew what was happening and chose to look the other way, or was forced to look the other way. So she has some real threat. She definitely is in fear for her freedom and safety. I believe that. But I think we have to be careful about naming what the source of her fear is. I think we learned our lesson with that in Austin, didn't we? We got to be really careful about seeing a person that is experiencing extreme emotion like fear or anger or sadness, and then just projecting onto them, like with a crystal ball, this is why they're afraid. We don't know really. We can see the evidence of the fear. We can discern that this is an animal that's in distress, but there's an awful lot of ways that fear could be real, but her not be culpable in the death of her child. So that is what I'm going to be talking about tonight. All right. So it's getting a little cold out here, And so I think I am going to head back up. Um, Orlando says 285 arrested in human trafficking. That crossbeam doesn't look too safe. What crossbeam? What you talking about, Willis? um, I can't get past the mom missing her own daughter's birthday party. Now, see, I thought that was a notable and important. Um, I thought that was a notable and important detail. That's not right, is it? That's not normal. You, generally, if a parent has to work or has some other obligation, don't you plan around the birthday party? Like you don't put a birthday when people are going to be at work. You do it when everybody's going to be home. So I did think that was notable. It felt like shame and embarrassment. There you go. I can agree with that, Cinnamon. I like your point of view other than the behavior panel. Well, I, Saul, I got to be careful, because I come on here just, I'm just here as a friend, right? This is a hobby type, fun, leisure time activity for me. People like the behavior panel and Dr. G, um, they've taken a different approach with their YouTube platform. It is an extension of their professional work, right? If you notice on the behavior panel, if you look behind them, most of them have some sort of book or some kind of training product that they're attempting to sell. And even Dr. G, he's got a product that he sells. It's let me see if I can remember what it even was. Wasn't it some kind of, doesn't he have some kind of like a workshop teaching like lie detection or interviewing techniques, how to I don't remember exactly what it is, but he's a forensic psychologist, so he does a lot of testing and interviewing. I don't know how much he does in terms of going to court and testifying, things like that, but usually forensic psychologists, that's a big part of what they do. So he does a lot of work like with law enforcement or defense attorneys. Perhaps he's working for defense attorneys as well. Um, so he has some kind of thing that he sells where you pay him and then you join in with the class and he teaches them like how to interview, how to detect deception, things like that, right? So we have the same training, we have the same base training. We're both licensed psychologists. I'm a clinical psychologist. Most of my work is hospital, medical type settings. Although now, because I'm getting old, I have the luxury of private practice. So still, though, even though I'm in private, I I still have a lot of people that are adjusting to life outside of the hospital. Maybe they've had an amputation, they're learning how to manage the grief and the frustration of prosthetics and things like that. But um, I started my I started my professional life as a school teacher. Absolutely loved that, and and then after several years, then I got into my PhD program. A great deal of my time was spent continuing to work with kids and teenagers. During my PhD program, I actually had a job where I was doing testing. Um, and then I had I had a couple of advisors, professors, and they were like, you need to expand and explore, the beautiful world of psychology with adults. So I did do that. And I identified some of my biases, admittedly so. I did some forensic testing for the county and well, I actually had a couple of cases that were state. Um, so I have done that, but most of my testimony, expert testimony and stuff like that, has been on developmental or the psychology of cognition and learning. Um, Most of the stuff when I've been teaching in college, most of that has been for developmental psych, adolescent, child psychology, things like that. But the actual applied work that I've done, I really, really enjoy rehabilitation, medical. So done a lot of work in hospitals, people that have suffered stroke, or they've been in car accidents, they've got traumatic brain injury. And yes, I've sort of been, I I often get calls for the pediatric cases because that's kind of, I have this I have this niche, this crossover between the cognition, learning, developmental, child psych with the catastrophic, injury, trauma kind of stuff. So that, my when I get on YouTube and I talk about true crime and my impressions of these crimes and whatnot, I'm not acting as an extension of my day job. I'm just being you guys. I'm just being a part of the group talking and I guess gossiping and having fun, and I try to be really careful to keep that. I want to keep that notable, visible line. So I stay away from a lot of, the kind of stuff that these other people are doing. It just makes me, I don't know. You always have this concern that, how do I want to say this? So our ethical standards, the state guidelines, we're really cautioned, be careful about your public statements, and they give us guidelines on how to do that. So I always have that in the back of my mind, and I just think, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make my public, my interactions, social media interactions, I don't want it to have anything to do with my day-to-day work. Just don't want to go there. So anyway, so Dr. G, he's kind of doing an extension of his, I mean, the way it was explained that I understood in his first few videos, he's selling a product that is consistent with the work he does every day. And then I think Behavior Panel, weren't they all like military? And so their YouTube stuff is part of their general employment, I just can't do it. So I get where they have to pull back sometimes. I get where they have to be really careful and really aware that they don't step over a line. So I understand that. And then I also understand that there also may be some hesitation as a father. You don't want to call into question whether a woman is a good mom or not. I can respect that. I don't have a problem with it. But I think looking at it just as a person, I think there's some red flags in Jen Soto's interviews. I think there's some glaring red flags that are pretty difficult to ignore. But I also don't think, even those red flags, I don't think they specifically say she is culpable. I think I can definitely say she's scared to death, but I don't have any way of knowing what it is that she's afraid of. But I'm going to talk about that tonight, and I'm going to talk about some very real facts that lead me to believe that Jen Soto, in fact, maybe she's not just afraid of her boyfriend. Maybe there is a wider group of goons and sociopaths and psychopaths that she fears will come for her if she tells what they've been doing. And so that is what I will address tonight. Okie dokie. My grandma lived to be 101. She was amazing. I miss her every day. Thank you, Cinnamon Hot Hot. Critters, that's beautiful. We're the same. We have for grandmas. It's so pure. I'm a grandma. I get to be a granny with all of you guys. I'm so excited to to finally be granny. I did tell I did tell my daughter that I thought that we ought to do a YouTube channel that is for new moms and new grandmas, navigating those power struggles and roadblocks, right? I told her, I said, I think there's a market for that because as a new mom, I can remember you're trying to find your way, you're trying to figure it out, and it can be really frustrating for Granny to come sweeping into the room and say, "Give me that baby." And take it over, and start telling people how to do things and what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to act. So, I told her, I think that we might could do some good. So we had, my daughter and I, we came to an understanding. I would say to her, "So, what did the hospital tell you about diaper rash?" And then she would tell me what the hospital said. And then I would say, "Well, we old people, we were told to do it this way. So, what do you think would be a good fit for you and the baby?" That was my attempt to be a good granny and to not be intrusive. Exactly, Cinnamon. Absolutely. Honey K has 6 grandbabies. Wow, your cup runneth over, Honey K. That's amazing. All the gadgets available to take care of that new baby. Kathy, they have a baby bath that has a thermometer on it so that you always know what the temperature of the water is. Isn't that amazing? Speaking of gadgets, little butt naked in the sunshine is really healthy. There you go. I told my daughter that. I said the best thing to cure diaper rash is strip that baby down naked and put them out in sun. After 6, they hand those off to the grandparents very quickly. There you go, Honey K. I'm living. I can't live. It's gonna be forever for the 6th birthday to get here. It'll be like waiting on Christmas. Thank you, Fancy Nancy. All right. Oh, here's a big group of dinosaurs headed our way. Y'all see them? Here they come. Brown pelicans, state bird of Louisiana. I call them dinosaurs. There's one taking off. He's a lone wolf. He doesn't need any friends. All right. How's that? I don't see anything. I don't see any other interesting. Oh, he just caught something and I wasn't paying attention. Looks like he's fighting something big out there. They're all fighting over whatever it was. Here comes a couple more. Sorry, I'm zoomed in really close, so it's shaky. I need to put a tripod out here that just stays out here all the time. Better get out of the water, buddy. Here comes a boat. Boat slowed down for the birds. He must have had him a good snack. That boat stopped to watch them. See? So where you see these birds hunting and the boat, that is actually a reef. It's a natural oyster reef. Yeah, let's not talk about oyster shells, shall we? It's a natural reef, so it's got great fishing for both the wildlife as well as the old retired people. Lots of people like to fish out there. A bit of the reef comes right up in front of our pier. Good fishing. My brother and my husband like to come out here and fish all night long. I'm sure there may be some Budweiser involved in that, but I don't know. All right. So, okay, people. See that yellow house over there? I love that yellow house. All those windows. Yeah, the guy built it. He's from New York. The guy built it. The inside of it is exquisite. They have rock crystal chandeliers in the bathrooms. It is absolutely luscious. They came in, they built it. I met him, I don't know, like 4 or 5 different times. I'd be on my walk and he'd be out there working, and, you know, we'd stop and talk about the house and everything. Anyway, they've never lived there. Never. They don't come for the weekends. It's just sitting there empty. So next time I see him, I'm going to ask, is this your retirement home, or is it just investment and you're just trying to keep inflation from eating up your money? Water's very low. Kind of unusual. Strange, all that green. Fun fact. Weird. Weird. Huh. Here's a fun fact. You see all this rubble along this bulkhead here? Even up there? Yeah. I'm standing in what used to be the road. This was actually a road. And these yards right here beside the concrete, that was their front yards. And the ocean over time has wiped it away. And it wasn't very long ago. I think this road disappeared. I think it fell in like in the 30s maybe. And so rather than cleaning it out, they said, hey, let's just push it up and see if we can stop any further erosion. And it's actually done a really good job. So, fun fact. And when we have hurricanes, a big one, with a nice tide, these big chunks of concrete that you see here, they'll get picked up and like deposited in the middle of my yard. That's fun to try to get them back where they belong. So, all right, the tour is over, I think. I don't see anything interesting down there. See some oysters. that's it. Water's muddy today. Don't see anything interesting. Sometimes there's some old bricks. Some people like to collect bricks. Tonight, when I go live and talk about Jen Soto and whether I think that she knows or knew what had happened and whether she's culpable. All right. All you grannies out there, y'all have a beautiful day from one granny to all the others. See y'all later. Bye.